Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this die flip card. It uses designer series paper and you die cut a piece out and you flip it. I do want to point out, however, that I didn't just cut a die out of this side and this image happened to pop up. What I did was I used the pattern side first, and then in this card I'd used the square, one of the squares from Stylish Shapes, and then die cut it. Or you could use a circle if you wanted to, and actually if you don't have dies you can even use a punch. So this is a 2 1/4 inch punch, just to show you, as long as the punch is able to reach far enough in. And then of course the pattern doesn't have to be in the middle, it could be off to one side. Wherever you feel the best image is, then you can just cut that out. So that's what I did in this instance. This piece I was going to use, and then I thought, you know what, no, let's mix it up a little bit. This is the sample, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in one of my current favorites, the Floral Delight, and I will make the card that I demonstrate for you out of that. So it starts with a piece of Daffodil Delight, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, the size that fits in a standard envelope and we're all pretty comfortable with. Then I took a piece of Old Olive, and it's only cut down by 1/8 of an inch. And here's a little tip while I show you. Sometimes, depending on where in the paper trough the scoring line lands, you get this little hair's breadth. The tip is to flip it over so the shorter, by a hair's breadth piece is at the back. And then we are going to put, this is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8 piece of Old Olive on. So let me just grab some adhesive and we'll stick that along as we go. If of course you were doing a dark cardstock, it's also recommended that you put a lighter basic white piece inside. I will do that later, but I mean technically you could even stamp directly onto this, but let's concentrate on the outside. And then the flipping part. So this was a piece of the Floral Delight and it's cut at 5 1/8 by 4. And then what I did was I looked at the dies that I had, and like I say, this was the Stylish Shapes. This is the square that I used for this one and the circle that I just showed you. And then I thought, I've got all these old shapes that were from way back in the day. And this was Framelit Labels collection. So it's completely retired, of course. But I thought it would make just something different rather than a square or a circle. So I popped that on, rolled it through the die cutting machine. And this is what we got. So I'd obviously just stuck it on with little post-it notes to hold it in place while I showed you. The only thing you have to do is have, of course, a piece that is flip overable. So we could do it like that, or we could do it the right way around, Alison. It just needs to be symmetrical, and of course this one is, and then we will attach it to the front like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put these two pieces on. I've seen cards made where they've done a die cut. A shape has been taken out the front of the piece of the designer series paper and a different pattern has been put behind. But this actually uses literally the piece that you took out. So let me go ahead and stick that in. You could stick it in with dimensionals if you wanted to, and then you could see a little bit of the color because it's a coordinating color anyway. But for mine, I'm just going to stick it right back in. And then I thought, what about a nice shape for the greeting? And while we're dyeing, I used this one. This came from the Happy Hibiscus. It's a hybrid. You put it in the embossing folder and it cuts and does all sorts of clever things all at once. But all I wanted really was the base piece, and then I cut a piece of basic white for this die in particular, it's 2.5 by 3/4. And then I'm going to use one of the greetings out of my favorite stamp set, well, word stamp set, the Simply Said, and it's going to be thinking of you. So I'm just going to stamp that in Old Olive. Just like that, quick and easy. And then we can attach this to the cute little shape that we die cut out. The ones in Stylish Shapes have the stitched edge. I don't know if you can see that. And the one from the older dies didn't, which is what prompted me, if I'm honest, to choose this one, because I thought it just gets a little bit of the stitching look in. And then I am going to put some dimensionals on the back. And this bumper sheet of dimensionals is one that I just got in the latest paper pumpkin kit. I'm always saying, oh, I love it because you get so many extra doodads and they're so generous. And look at the size of this sheet of dimensionals. Fabulous. Anyway, let's get the backing papers off those. And then depending where the image was on your piece of paper, obviously dictates where it ends up being when you flipped it over. So I'm going to pop my greeting over to the right hand side, and then I felt it just needed a little bit of extra. So these are gold textured adhesive backed dots. They're not called sequins, they're dots because they're kind of like lumps. So let me just find my little stylus and let's pop some of these on the card. So we'll pop one there. Nice thing about this is they come in 3 different sizes, and then you get a nice selection. Yep. And pop that one on there, and there you have it. Die flip, die cut, flipped over. You can pick the image. I mean, it really just depends on the designer series paper that you have. I would recommend, of course, that you use one that's got a busy pattern that you flip the side onto, and more of a not quite so busy pattern. Otherwise, they would just be completely competing with each other. So this one, although it's got the flowers on, they're a little bit more subdued, and it allowed this one to shine, and this one, just who doesn't like a bit of gingham. So there you have it. As always, of course, the directions and dimensions for both of these will be on my blog. If you've got a question or a comment, pop those in the box below and I will always get back with you. If you like what you've seen, please consider subscribing. Give me a thumbs up. I appreciate those and I thank you in advance. And last but not least, thanks so much for watching.